So the only way that you can lose an election to a beatable buffoon like Donald Trump is if you run one of the shittiest campaigns in American history. And what we witnessed with Hillary Clinton and her team was, in fact, one of the most shittiest campaigns in American history. Now, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, Robby Mook, was on CNN to discuss some of the ways that they came up short and why they lost ultimately to an orange clown like Donald Trump. Now, if you are wondering whether or not he learned anything, the answer is an unequivocal no, because they learned nothing. So when it comes to her VP choice of Tim Kaine and why Hillary Clinton didn't even consider Bernie Sanders, here's what he had to say.
What did Tim Kaine offer that Bernie Sanders didn't?
Yeah, it's a great question. And look, Bernie Sanders is a really important part of our campaign no matter what. We would not have had the successful convention that we did without Bernie Sanders' help. We would not have had as many people support us as did without Bernie Sanders' help. He was an enormous part of our presence on the ground in October in particular, and we're really grateful to him for that. You know, the decision, I think Kellyanne would agree with this, the decision about who should be your vice president should be a decision about who you think is ready to do the job and who you can see as a partner, you know, someone down the hall who you can call on to work with you. And that's how Hillary approached this, and I assume that's how Donald Trump approached this as well. And he was on that list because he deserved to be on that list, and he was considered fully along with over 30 other people. But at the end of the day, she felt like Tim Kaine would represent her views and values if, you know, God forbid he had to become president, that he had the background and preparation to do the job, but also that partnership and that chemistry was the right one.
So that right there is a perfect example of cluelessness. He said Bernie Sanders was a really important part of our campaign. Well, how so? Because you only utilized Bernie Sanders and trotted him out once you realized that Hillary Clinton wasn't actually getting as much millennial supporters as she thought she was. I mean, that was just a failure. Bernie Sanders, after everything that you guys did to him, after you colluded with the DNC to rig the primaries against him, he didn't have to help you, but he did because he knew that Donald Trump would be a disaster. So he swallowed his pride and tried to help you, and you did not utilize him in the correct way. You tried to pander, and it didn't work. He also said Bernie Sanders was on Hillary's list. Oh, okay. He acts like that was an accomplishment in and of itself. Well, Bernie Sanders was on Hillary Clinton's list. Oh, really? Because according to WikiLeaks and the release of John Podesta's emails, Hillary Clinton planned to select Tim Kaine since as early as 2015. So that's some bullshit right there, and I don't think you ever really considered Bernie Sanders, and if you did, well, we might be in a different spot. Even if you selected Elizabeth Warren, we might be in a different spot right now. Hillary Clinton might actually be the president. Now, if Hillary chose Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, I don't think she would have won over all of his supporters that she screwed over, but it would have certainly increased her chances. There's no doubt about that, because you would have helped to unify the base, and now you still have this ongoing proxy war between the Hillary Clinton wing and the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party. And I'll just say this, the Hillary Clinton wing needs to step aside because we did it your way and lost, now it's our turn. But anyways, getting back to what Robby Mook says, he also is still talking about one thing that he couldn't shut the hell up about during the campaign. Russia.
Congress has got to investigate what happened with Russia here. We cannot have foreign aggressors, I would argue, intervening in our elections. And we know that the Russians were promulgating fake news through Facebook and other outlets.
The Russians, the Russian government, the Russians illegally stole these emails.
Now, when it comes to the question of who's to blame, well, it's not Hillary Clinton.
Whether it is giving speeches to Goldman Sachs, or setting up the private email server, or the decision to become multi-millionaires, did the decisions by those individuals, the old guard, make your job close to impossible?
Well, no, not at all. We came very close to winning this campaign, and as I said, we won the popular vote. Look, Hillary said she regretted that email setup, that it was a mistake. She took responsibility for it, and she apologized.
No, I get it, but it happened, and obviously, you're talking about James Comey. James Comey is in this conversation because of the email server.
Sure, but I think, look, again, if any of us on the campaign could have gone back on a time machine, including Hillary Clinton, and changed this, absolutely, we would have. But I think despite that, this was the most overhyped, over-reported, over-litigated story in the history of American politics. Full stop. It was. and particularly because of what James Comey did. You know, there are protocols at the Justice Department that they are not to intervene in electoral races. They're not to report out on investigations in 2, 3, 4 months before an election. This was a total breach of that protocol and totally unnecessary, particularly to write a letter saying we have some emails, I haven't even looked at them. It's mind-boggling why he did this.
So according to Robby Mook, Hillary Clinton isn't to blame for running a shitty campaign. James Comey is. And also, he has another scapegoat in mind.
We know for a fact that some young people in particular were voting for third-party candidates. And if those votes had gone a different way, the election could have turned out in a different way. It's their choice where to put their vote, so I'm not criticizing or blaming them.
But you are, Robby. You did blame them. You blamed people who dared to vote for a candidate that actually had a message that resonated with them. You see, and you're also conveniently overlooking the fact that hundreds of thousands of Democrats decided to flip and support Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. Why don't you guys ever talk about that? I mean, we see the same thing with the 2000 election. Everyone likes to blame Ralph Nader and say that, well, you know, he took so much votes away from Al Gore in Florida in 2000 that it cost him the election. But what you don't realize is that millions of voters flipped and supported George W. Bush, and that's what happened this time as well. So why is it that we only blame third-party voters, but we don't blame the Democrats who are registered as Democrats that voted for Donald Trump? Oh, it's because you are supporting the narrative, fall in line, because it helps you guys win. If you fall in line, then you're more likely to support the Democratic Party no matter what. But you didn't like that we didn't fall in line this time because you put forth a corrupt, shitty corporatist candidate that we rejected. So you've learned nothing. And this is not just apparent with Robby Mook. It's prevalent throughout the whole Democratic Party. They can't accept that Hillary Clinton lost because she was the wrong candidate. And she was a bad candidate. So, you know, it's really frustrating because the reason why I'm still talking about this, the reason why I'm still talking about this election is because we need you to get it through your heads. You need to know why you lost so you don't do it again. This is why we're screaming it from the rooftops. Hillary Clinton lost because of Hillary Clinton, not no one else. So if you continue to blame, you know, James Comey and scapegoat third-party voters, you're never going to learn. But we're telling you, we're trying to shake you and wake you up and say, look, you lost because you abandoned the base, you split the base, and then you catered to neoconservatives. Don't do that shit. You can't do that if you want to win. Even if it's a buffoon like Donald Trump, you're still going to lose if you don't give voters a reason to vote for you. Simply being someone that's not Donald Trump does not mean, oh, I got to come out and vote for that person. No, we're just going to stay home. And that's what happened. That's why you got 7.5 million less votes than Obama in 2008. So the takeaway is that we need you guys to wake up. We need you. We desperately need you to acknowledge why you lost specifically. So that way you never do it again, because this was the easiest election ever. I mean, if this election was a video game, Hillary Clinton was playing on the easiest difficulty, because Donald Trump should have been a cakewalk, and you guys acknowledged that, hence why WikiLeaks' release of John Podesta's emails showed that you tried to elevate Donald Trump's campaign. But I mean, you guys made so much rookie mistakes that a seasoned politician like Hillary Clinton should never make. So you've got to acknowledge what you got wrong, so that way the Democratic Party can learn from your mistakes.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.